Alright, I thought we'd do a Yellowstone caldera volcano update. We'll have to do this over on the board. The information I'm presenting today, that sounds so corporate, doesn't it? Will be some new information that I found out not too long ago. Maybe some of you already knew that. Let's go over to the board and see what I'm talking about. So, this is sort of a map of Washington State, the Pacific Ocean, Seattle. Canada's up here. Now what we're looking at here is the Cascade Mountain Range, where we have many volcanoes that are dormant at this moment. Baker, Rainier, Hood, Mount St. Helens. You've heard of all of these, probably. Mount St. Helens was the last one to erupt. But way over here in Wyoming, Montana, Idaho kind of area is a place called Yellowstone Caldera, one of the biggest volcanoes this planet has ever seen. But the part that I need to pay attention to isn't necessarily over here, it's over here. Now here are the plates, the crust plates of the world. You have the Pacific Plate, you have the Juan de Fuca Plate, the Explorer Plate, Carter Plate, all these different plates. Now this all happened about 700 million years ago when the Pacific Plate got stuck and broke up into pieces. There's one thing that's interesting, because whenever we get a earthquake, a big one, a 7 or higher, one of these volcanoes usually either smokes or erupts, according to history. Now, we need to go a little bit further than this. It's so funny, I lost my pen, but I found it. Okay, this is that same spot. Here's that ocean crust going down like this, down into the balls of the planet Earth. Here's Washington State, right here. We're going to do that pen is not showing up. Alright, now here's we're going to do this sort of in a block diagram so it's easier to understand. So, we have a 7.9 earthquake, and this whole plate moves some underneath this plate, the North American plate. When this happens, the volcanoes up here, because of all this friction that's being caused by all this rock tearing down into the planet, causes friction. This friction works up and you get a volcano, such as you had in Japan or Nihon back in their big earthquake. And when they had their big earthquake, you saw many volcanoes in Japan start to erupt. Well, the same thing happens here. However, the question always comes, will Yellowstone ever erupt once we get a big earthquake and this slides down? When this does happen, we'll have a huge tidal wave in both directions, which will only give a few minutes for the people in Seattle and other seaside communities up and down the state of Washington and Oregon and parts of California will all have to evacuate very quickly because of the tremendous tsunami that will come from this. But we're not talking about that. Block diagrams. So when those plates that I was talking about, the Juan de Fuca and all that broke up, apparently another plate slid. Instead of going down, it slid this way and is about here. That plate has been moving this way. Now, stick with me here. Back when this plate first started, this bit of volcano, which was a hot spot, it went all the way down to the planet, down into the mantle, and came up and got blocked by this plate, which is made of a much harder, denser material than all the surrounding. So this plate, as it moved this direction, pushed this magma further and further east. As this plate keeps moving, this magma has to take a different direction. See the light dim there? That's because it's too hot. And that is why the Yellowstone caldera keeps moving eastward. Or is it the Pacific Plate moving this direction? And this plate is moving in this direction. and this plate is moving here. I'm sure that all just makes perfect sense. So, the question is, if we had a 9 earthquake on the Juan de Fuca plate zone, would it cause Yellowstone to erupt? And the answer is probably not. All the other major volcanoes will erupt, but not Yellowstone because of the plug that's in place. And that's what makes Yellowstone so challenging for any scientists to figure out when it's going to erupt. It's not as black as white. It's not as black and white as one might think. So that's why they say the Yellowstone volcano kind of erupts on its own time schedule, and not necessarily when there's an earthquake on the Pacific plate or the American plate or any other plate. It's plugged. And the funny thing is that the scientists have been saying that the caldera has been plugged for some time. That strange plate seems to have plugged it maybe permanently. We'll see. Kind of doubt it, but it just might. And now the question is, will it move the supervolcano somewhere else? I definitely appreciate your discussion on this, your ups and downs, and definitely the new subscribers. I thought that was kind of interesting, and until next time, and until next time, and until next time.